Welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. This week, we're talking about the National Die-In Day. That's coming up in Political Pop. Also, we'll talk about the 30-year-old who's being evicted from his parents' house by court order. You definitely want to stick around for that. And also, in our world this week, we're still honoring Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, this is our last show in the month of May. You know, we've been doing something every single week. And this week, we're talking about love. Love is a verb, and so is happiness. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's just jump right into Political Pop. Here is your Political Pop for Friday, May 25th. National Die-In Day. It's taking place on June 12th. First, we'll talk about the high school senior that came up with the idea, Amanda Fogelberg. She is just 18-year-old high school senior in Orlando, Florida. She also previously organized a walkout in her school, but she came up with this idea, and it's National Die-In Day on June 12th, which happens to be the anniversary of the shooting at Pulse nightclub. And here's what she says. She wants students to die in at noon on June 12th. And the die-in is going to last 12 minutes. That's about 1 second for each of approximately 700 mass shootings in the U.S., resulting in at least 4 wounded since the Pulse attack. So the die-in is set to take place in front of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. She's urging other high schoolers to come participate, die in front of the Capitol, but also she's urging other students to protest at their state capitals as well as town halls. Again, June 12th at noon for 12 minutes. I'm Danella Sealock, and that was your Political Pop. And keep in mind, this protest was scheduled prior to the shooting in Santa Fe, Texas, leaving 10 people dead. This is just tragic. We need stricter, tougher gun laws in this country. This is terrible. Students there are scheduled to return to class on May 29th. The officials there say that graduation will go on as scheduled. And it seems like it's not ending. Still, no laws protecting our students, our kids, our citizens. And now we'll head down to Hawaii. We were talking about this last week. They're still dealing with a major volcano there. It first started May 3rd. Since then, they say 2,000 quakes have struck around the Big Island. They have lava flowing into the ocean, which is causing laze, which is lava and haze mixed together, resulting in toxic gas and devastation, including homes and vehicles. They were concerned, we talked about this last week, about acid rain. It's unreal. It looks like Armageddon of some sort. Speaking of Armageddon, let's go to the White House. Okay, so did you guys hear about this? A sinkhole opens up on the front lawn of the White House. Now, they say this is following lots of rain that, occurred in the area prior to the sinkhole opening up. Now, I'm just saying, there has been a lot of rain during the Obama administration, and we ain't see a sinkhole open there. I'm just saying, it's worth saying. Because it's almost like, the earth is opening up and saying, hey, come on down. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. We miss you. Come on down. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. So yeah, the sinkhole appeared steps from the entrance to the White House briefing room. So it's causing quite a stir on the lawn. Now let's get into this 30-year-old. Did you guys hear about this? Okay, think about it. There's so many people, especially now, moving back home with their parents early. Some people never leave the house. They go to high school, they go to college, they stay home. Well, some people might go away to school and then still come back home. Well, here is the case with this 30-year-old man. He just didn't want to move out of his parents' home. Well, listen to this. 30-year-old. He lives in New York. This guy's ridiculous. His name is Michael Rotondo. He says that With my parents, they want me out right away, and they're not really interested in providing reasonable time. Sorry, it just makes me, you're 30. How much reasonable time do you mean? So anyway, he says I don't like living there, but he's not able to move out immediately. Well, the court was like, you've had more than enough notification. Here's why the court says this. Let's take it back to February. His parents say that they gave him 5 notices. We're not talking about verbal notices, written notices. And when you hear what's written in these notices, it's out of control. So on February 2nd, the first one was, after a discussion with your mother, we have decided you must leave this house immediately. You have 14 days to vacate. You will not be allowed to return. We will take whatever actions necessary to enforce this decision. Okay, so then he was chilling. So February 13th. His parents decide to seek legal counsel, and they served another notice. And at that point, they gave him 30 days to leave. Okay. 5 days later, another note. This time, they offered some advice and $1,100. Who are these parents? I needed these parents when I was 17. That's what I needed, because that's when I left and went to college. I didn't move back. I think I came home like maybe 2 summers, and I was like, I'm gonna have to stay in college during the summer. Like, are you kidding, dude? This is what his parents, this is the advice. So number 1, organize the things you need for work and to manage an apartment. They say that he also should sell the things that he has any significant value of, i.e. his stereo, some tools, etc. And this is especially true for any weapons you may have. You need the money and will have no place for the stuff. Who are these parents? Let's keep going. He says there are jobs available even for those with poor work history, like you. Get one. You have to work. Number 4, if you want help finding a place, your mother has offered to help you. Who are these parents? He still didn't move out. Let's get to March 5th. March 5th, they reminded him of the looming deadline of March 15th. And they say, so far, we have seen no indication that you're preparing to leave. The 5th and final notice was on March 30th with some more help. They said this. They said, here's some options to get your broken down vehicle off the property. This is what they said. They offered to pay for his repairs. I know that there are some people living at home right now with their parents, and you're either listening to this or watching this, and you're thinking to yourself, I wish I had these parents. Are you serious? They offered to give him some cash plus pay to get his car fixed so he can physically get the car off the property and hopefully drive away from their home. Yes, so that was the 5th and final notice on March 30th. This cat still didn't leave. And here's was his defense. Okay, he says, he has never been expected to contribute to household expenses or assisted with the chores and the maintenance of the premises. And he claims that this is simply a component of his living agreement. Oh, they made a monster. They have made a monster. So the state of New York was like, yo, you have had ample notice. You do not need 60 days to move. You need to get out. Oddly, since they had to go to court, it'll actually be 60 days from when he does actually have to move, from the first notice to when the court said he has to be out by. So if you're living at home and you might be skating on thin ice, if your parents have told you multiple times you need to get out, be aware. Parents taking cats to court. I mean, that's just okay. So that's just wrong on so many levels. Imagine the legal fees that the parents have to pay to take him to court. This guy, of course, he represented himself, because you know what they say, only a fool represents himself. But he literally felt that he had a defense. I can't believe, where'd they do that at? I would have loved that type of parental help when I was growing up. What? Here's some extra money. We'll fix your car. Don't worry about that. So again, if you're living at home, let this be a warning to you. Parents are getting even. They taking cats to court. It's crazy. All right, now we'll get into In Our World. In Our World this week, we're talking about something I recently learned. It was love is a verb. And I'd like to add, so is happiness. So I actually learned this during an interview I had a few days ago. I've recently been working with a production company, the largest in the UK, and which has afforded me the opportunity to have some incredible interviews over the past few months. I've loved the types of organizations that I've interviewed and the people that I've worked with. So one of the women that I was interviewing, she was amazing. An older woman who is caring for her mother, suffering from dementia. Previously, she also nursed her mother-in-law through dementia. Her husband had it. Both her mother-in-law and husband have passed. And now her mother, 94 years old. It's amazing. She's taking care of her mother. She's also taking care of her 25-year-old granddaughter who stays with her. And she's a caregiver for her 4-year-old granddaughter. She says the 4-year-old mother said that she had too much time on her hands. I don't understand how that's possible, but that's what the mom said. So rather than have the little girl in a daycare, she stays with grandma Monday through Friday. So just talking to her and just asking her about her day, it was amazing because nothing in her day was personal. Nothing was about her. Everything was about someone else. And this particular shoot was really talking about caregivers as well. I mean, the immense pressures that they're under. And this is what she said to me, and I swear it changed my life. She said this to me. She said, love is a verb. It is something that you do. It is something that you do. She said that she's doing it not only because her mother did it for her, but because she's showing her children that love is a verb, something that you do. You can't just say, I love you. It's action. And so for her, she's creating this legacy of love being action. You show it, you do it, you live it, you be it. And I swear, as I'm just, talking to her, I am in awe because, again, this is somebody who dedicates the majority of her day. All of her thought process is pretty much somebody else, someone else. She was talking about her older granddaughter, even as if she was younger. The 25-year-old saying, her friends come over and it's grandma, and she's like, I take care of the friends. And I just can't believe the amount of energy she has. Let's remember, her mother is 94 years old. So she's a senior as well. And for her to say love is an action. And as I sat there, it struck me this idea, in addition to love being a verb, so is happiness. A lot of times we think of happiness as being an emotion that we feel. A lot of times we think that life has to happen in a specific way for us to have happiness. But I say, and what I've learned on my own, through my own dealings with emotional health and emotional happiness, and that is that when you're struggling, happiness is most definitely a verb that you do. If you watched one of the earlier podcasts, you remember I had a happiness curator, Chianti Lomax.
So I don't wake up beaming rainbows and sunshine. I give myself permission to be human. The thing I do is I'm not happy every day, but I know that it's intentional. Even if I wake up in a bad mood, I know that I have the right tools to get out of it. So it's not really about creating a life of perfection and being happy all the time. It's about being more resilient and being able to move out of whatever your rock bottom is and get back up. But recognizing that it's okay, I see what's wrong, and having the tools to move out of it.
She's amazing. And because she has that idea that, that same idea is that you do it, you live it, it is something you have to work at. And I want to revisit that now, especially as we're getting ready to wrap up Mental Health Awareness Month, because we all have the ability to actively do things to bring about happiness in our lives. And so as I'm sitting in this interview, just listening to this story and seeing the love that's in this family, it just reminds me that yeah, we don't think about it in the sense, a lot of times we think of love as something we feel, it's a noun, but it's really a verb. It's really a verb that you have to show. And that is the same thing for happiness. It's really a verb that you have to do, especially in these trying times. I mean, it's tough out here. I mean, I don't need to tell you it's tough. It's tough. You could barely watch the news. You could barely listen to music. Walk on the street. There's so much struggle, strife. Just look at Trump tweets. I don't. I see him in the news. I definitely don't follow him. But if you just watch them, it's just a very, very tough, emotional, painful time that we are in. And so we must be vigilant about demanding our happiness and fighting for our happiness and doing what we need to do in order to be happy. So this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people are going to, be around family, also celebrating the lives of our fallen soldiers, a lot of cookouts and bonding. And I want you to think about this as you go on beyond Memorial Day weekend. It's easy to feel happy when you're, surrounded by love, even if you are remembering the loss of a loved one. When you just are around love, it just helps console you. But I want you guys to think about that and pass it on to people you know. Love and happiness are verbs. It's something that you do. As always, thank you so much for joining the show. This week, I want to give a special hello and thank you to my newest subscriber, Felicia. Thank you so much for subscribing. Also, if there's anything you'd like me to cover, to talk about, you can email me, Danella at DanellaNOW.com, across all social platforms. Danella Now. As always, I hope you have an incredible weekend. I'm going to add, surrounded by love and light. And I will see you next week.